John Sink here with a special edition of the 8-Year Report. Basketball season is fast approaching, and it's time to take a look at the men's basketball coaches preseason poll and all-conference selections. First, let's begin with the coaches preseason poll. At number 9, we have the UMass Lowell Riverhawks. Under the leadership of head coach Bat Tuquette, the Riverhawks surprised many last year with their 8-8 conference record, and they'll be looking to build upon that success this year. At number 8, we have the Maine Black Bears. First-year head coach Bob Walsh will be relying on Zarko Varelevich, the senior who averaged 14.5 points per game last year. At number 7, we have UMBC, and their success this year will fall largely on reigning America East Rookie of the Year, Rodney Elliott. Elliott will be looking to improve upon his 15 points per game average last season. At number 6, we have the Wildcats of UNH. Veteran head coach Bill Harrion will be looking at his youthful roster to try and improve upon last year's season. At number 5, we have the Binghamton Bearcats. Head coach Tommy Dempsey has rapidly rebuilt this BU program, and now under the athleticism of Jordan Reed, the Bearcats are poised for an impressive year. And now being joined by Frank Sullivan, America East basketball analyst, we're going to talk about the top 4 teams in the coaches preseason poll. And Frank, let's dive right in. At number 4, the Vermont Catamounts.
The Catamounts are in the middle of a very impressive 6 consecutive 20-win seasons. Quite impressive. Coach Becker himself, individually, first conference coach in history to win 20 games during his first 3 seasons. All very, very impressive. But a unique situation with the Catamounts in that they're going through more player personnel transitions than ever before. Most of their experience returning is in the front court. Some very impressive front court players. Ethan O'Day, Kurt Steidel, very impressive runs last year in February with the regular season. But for the backcourt, for the perimeter, changes that they're not used to at Vermont. This is going to be important to figure out who's going to play the primary scoring position in the backcourt, who's going to be the backcourt leader with the ball in his hands. Ernie Duncan, great expectations there. So those transitions need to be ironed out. For the Catamounts, a very difficult non-league schedule to start the season. Their goal and the pride in that program is American East Championship play. So it's going to be an interesting transition to make, and certainly they're ready for it, but very unique with the personnel transitions.
Now, Frank, moving to number 3 in the coaches preseason poll, the 2-time defending America's champions, Albany Great Danes.
Well, certainly a very impressive 2 years for the Great Danes, coming out of the 3 or the 4 hole in the preseason picks to win this conference and win it on the road. Very impressive. Coach Brown going for his 200th career victory this year, also quite impressive. But no player in this conference comes into the year with more momentum than Peter Hooley, the outstanding player of last year's America East tournament, great versatile floor game, one of the best deep shooters in the league. Sam Rowley gives them leadership in the front court, unusual leadership with his ability to put the ball on the floor, get to the rim, undersized big man as it were, and a lot of new faces for the Great Danes that we'll need to get used to. Coach Brown took a big chunk of junior college players this year. They come in with high expectations. The bar is set very high for the University at Albany, but you know what? They're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. Stellar defense and rebounding has gotten to this point, and a lot to look forward to for Great Dane fans.
Frank, you mentioned a couple Australian players from Albany, and sticking with that Outback theme, let's move up to number 2 where the Hartford Hawks reside.
Well, the Hartford Hawks went to Australia this summer for a nice international trip, returned Corbin Rowe as one of 6 seniors. You know, this is the year the Hawks have been pointing towards. All their statistical leaders are back, 6 seniors that have played well over 80 to 100 games over their careers, and everything with their leadership is intact. So not a lot of growth to be made with the Hartford Hawks. It becomes one of execution this season and winning games. And certainly for Coach Gallagher, he's talked about in the offseason the importance of doing a better job rebounding, doing a better job taking care of the basketball. We know they depend on the three-point shot. When they're making their threes, they're as good as anybody in this conference. But a very exciting year for Hawk fans as they've watched the growth and maturation of all the senior class led by Mark Wakamba, who's one of the best undersized big men in this conference.
Well, Frank, you mentioned all the senior leadership on Hartford, but the team that was picked number 1 in the coaches preseason poll doesn't have a single senior on their entire roster.
But Stony Brook has 2 of the best juniors in this league, and certainly last year's outstanding player with Jameel Warney. Now, this is a quite impressive team. 3 consecutive seasons with 20-plus wins, 3 consecutive postseason bids for the Stony Brook Seawolves, and expectations are high. Anytime you start a season with Jameel in the low post, Jameel Warney, that's such a plus. Outstanding last season, went from Rookie of the Year during his first year to Player of the Year during his second year. Trey Purifoy, who came off the bench a little bit earlier in his career, now seems to be one of the best pure point guards in the conference right now. Opening up the Stony Brook Arena, expectations are so high They too play a very difficult non-conference schedule and some interesting new pieces from international waters, if you will, and a deep team. I think there's a lot of growth that needs to be done with the supporting cast with this club right now. But when you start with outstanding post play with Jamil Warney and outstanding point guard play with Trey Purifoy, you are starting at two of the key positions on any basketball team.
And there you have it, the full coaches preseason poll. Frank, the season's just a couple weeks away. What are some things that fans can look forward to?
Well, beyond the players that we talked about and the institutions we talked about, there are some exciting young players in the freshman-sophomore class in this conference. So it's going to be interesting to watch their growth, especially early in the season. Second thing would be the opening of another new playing facility. Stony Brook Arena opens this year, following the Cross Center at the University of Maine last year. An exciting venue to play college basketball. And then finally, the playoffs. Playoff basketball has the opportunity to get to every campus in the conference this year with the new playoff format, and each team has a chance to host a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and the ultimate, the championship game on their home court.
So that's the preseason poll. Now let's talk about who the coaches selected for the all-conference preseason team. Peter Hooley from Albany. The junior was second in the conference last year, averaging 15.5 points per game. And he shot just about 40% from the floor on the year. Hooley was also named last year's America East Tournament's most outstanding player. Jordan Reed of Binghamton. Reed was voted to the America East All-Conference second team last year. As a sophomore, he averaged 15.4 points per game, which ranked third in the league. In addition, Reed ranked in the top 10 in three key defensive categories. In blocks, he was seventh. He ranked third in steals per game, and Reed led the conference in rebounding, averaging 8.9 boards per game. Mark Noakama from Hartford. As a junior, Noakama became the first ever two-time America East All-Conference first-team member in Hartford men's basketball program history. Noakama ranked fourth in the America East, averaging 15.3 points per game, and he ranked sixth in the rebounding at a 6.8 per game average. Carson Purifoy of Stony Brook. Purifoy averaged 12.9 points per game last year and 2.8 assists per game. The junior was also deadly from beyond the arc, hitting 43.3% from long range. Jamil Warney of Stony Brook, the reigning America East Player of the Year. The junior was only fourth player in conference history to be named Player of the Year as a sophomore after winning Rookie of the Year as a freshman. Warney averaged 14.5 points per game and shot an incredible 61% from the floor, good enough for fifth in the nation. The quest for an America East basketball championship begins on November 14th. To stay up to date on all AE Hoops action, tune into AmericaEast.tv.